Chapter 2, Section 3. There's a bunch of different things in here. Today we're going to talk about how to analyze graphs. What does it mean to analyze something? Like look at it, yeah. We're going to talk about domain and range, which should be, you guys should know what that is. That's the x values versus the y values. And then we're going to talk about intervals of increase, decrease, and constant. What does it mean if something's increasing? It's going what direction? Up. What about if it's decreasing? Down. And if it's constant, it stays the same, okay? So that's all we're doing today, the first 3 or 4 slides. All right, if you're talking about domain and range from a graph, we're going to be looking at a graph. Domain are all the values from left to right. Domain is our x-axis. So when we look for domain, how do we look? From left to right. This is your x values on a graph, and we read a graph from left to right, same way you read a book. Your range are all the values from the bottom to the top. So these are going to be on the y-axis, and you start low and you go up high. You always start bottom to top. So domain is left to right, and range is bottom to top. We're going to give our answer in what's called interval notation. We're always going to talk like that now. Brackets and parentheses, all right? If there is a dot, or the dot is solid, closed, that's when we use our brackets. That means it includes the value. If there is an open dot, that's when we use our parentheses, right? That's when the value is not included. So that's what we're going to do on this next slide. We're going to talk about all the domain and range values that we see. All right. When we talk about increase, decrease, and constant, really important. I'm going to write this up here really big. X-axis only. When you're talking about where something is increasing, decreasing, or staying constant, where on a graph it's happening, you only look at the x-axis. They're not asking you how high, how much it's going up or how much it's going down. They want to know over the intervals of which it's happening. So you read only left to right. And we're always going to use open dots and parentheses on increase, decrease, and constant. If you have a closed dot, that means you would be saying that the graph is increasing and decreasing at the exact same time. That can't happen. You can't go up and down simultaneously. At some point in time, it has to switch from one to the other. So just remember that when you're talking about intervals of increase, decrease, and constant, it's parentheses only. Right? As you're reading from left to right, if a graph is increasing, it's going in which direction? Up. If a graph is decreasing, it's going which direction? Down. And if it is constant, it stays flat, horizontal. All right, so that's what we're going to talk about today. Domain and range and intervals of increase, decrease, constant. We'll talk about odd and even functions tomorrow, and we'll talk about finding zeros. But today we're just going to talk about this. So if you are given a graph, right? Do you guys see graphs 1, 2, and 3? Okay. So we're going to talk about all the things we just talked about. We're going to find the domain. We're going to find the range. Then we're going to find our intervals of increase, decrease, and constant. We read intervals of increase, decrease, and constant on what axis? X-axis. Write that down. Remind yourself a million times. What goes on the x-axis, your domain or your range? Domain. So your intervals of increase, decrease, and constant, and your domain will go hand in hand. They'll be very similar. You'll see what I mean by that in a second. So if we read this graph from left to right, okay, we're going to talk about domain. What values, or where does my graph begin? At -3, okay? Do you guys see that? There's an open circle at -3. Does it include -3? No. How do you know that? Open circle. So it goes all the way over to right here on the x-axis. What is that? 0. Good. Does it include 0? Yes. How do you know it includes 0? Because the circle is closed. Now do you see that there's a gap here, right? There's no x values being used. Where do the x values begin being used again? At 2. Does it include 2? No, because it's open. And then this graph is going to continue to go up, but it's going to continue to get wider and wider and wider. So where does it end? At positive infinity. And what do we put on infinities? Parentheses. So all the x values that are used in this graph are from -3 to 0, and then from 2 to infinity. Now I'm going to erase so we can then look at range, right? What is our range values? Where do I look for range? Bottom to top. Good. So where, guys, on this graph do my range values start? Okay, 0 on the y-axis. Does it include 0? No, how come? Open, good. So it goes up, 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 up to what? 2. Included or not? Then, do you guys see the gap right here? Right, okay. So there's a union, there's a gap. Where does it start again? At 3. Does it include it or not? No. And then this graph is going to continue to go upwards to infinity. Perfect. I think the easiest way to do this, guys, is if you use color pencils. You're welcome to use mine. I'll get some more, sharpen them, but it kind of makes things easier to see. Don't try to match answers with anything. Just try to use color pencils. Now, when we talk about intervals of increase, decrease, and constant, what do we just say? We only look at what axis? The x. I'm going to cross off anything on the y. Because I agree, guys. I do see, if you were to tell me this part of the graph right here, is it increasing or decreasing? It's increasing. When I put my pencil down and I follow it, it's going up. A lot of you are going to tell me it's increasing from 0 to 2. I understand it is. It is getting bigger from where y equals 0 to where y equals 2. But you don't want to look at anything on the y-axis. You want to look only on the x-axis. So the interval over which it's increasing, from where on the x-axis to where on the x-axis? From -3 to what? -3 to 0. And we only use parentheses. So now I look at the next piece of the graph. All right, I'm going to put my pencil down and I'm going to follow it. What is it doing? It's going what direction? Up. It's going increasing again. So it's increasing from where on the x-axis? It's increasing from 2 to infinity. Is there any area that this graph from left to right decreases? No. So you would write none. Or no. Go ahead. Is there any part of this graph that just stays flat, horizontal, left to right? No. So then you would write none. Always write something. Don't just leave it blank. But what I want you guys to notice is, what did I tell you? Interval of increase, decrease, and constant. We read on what axis? The x-axis. Look at what else is on the x-axis. Your domain, right? Do you guys notice that the domain and your interval of increase is the same? Anytime you guys have intervals of increase, decrease, and constant, it will always correlate to either all of the domain or part of it. It's going to be something that you guys are going to really have to practice. On WebAssign, some of the graphs, the way that they're drawn, because it's by a computer, like the ends are like this, just cuts off the ends. Go ahead and assume that there's arrows at the end. That's what they're going to want you to assume, so just be careful of that. All right, let's look at the next one. All right, does everybody see number 2? We're going to answer domain, God bless you, range, increase, decrease, God bless, and constant. Something you can go ahead and look at real quick, guys. Is there any interval of constant on this graph where it's left to right, flat? No, so go ahead and put none. Just as soon as you see that, make that determination. Be like, oh, okay. All right, so let's think about this for a second. Domain is on our x-axis. This is negative infinity, and this is positive infinity, right? Since there's an arrow at the end of this, what does this mean this is going to continue to do? It's going to continue to go. So as this goes down towards negative infinity, it's also going towards what on the x-axis? All of these values over here, are they going to be on this graph eventually? Yeah, they will be. So what is your domain? Where does it start for this one? Negative infinity. And it goes all the way to what? Negative 2. Does it include negative 2? No. How do you know that? Okay. So then there's a gap here. There's no x values being used. Where do the x values start again? At 1. Included or not? Yep. God bless you. And then where do they end? At 2. Included or not? Not included. Perfect. It's really hard to do this just by looking. Right all over these graphs, guys. All right, now we're going to do range. How do we read range? The y-axis, from the bottom to the top. So think about this. This is just going to continue like this, right? So where does my range start? Where does it start? 0. Nope. Starts down here at negative infinity. And it goes up, 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 up until y equals what? 0. Good. Does it include 0 or no? Nope. Then, do you guys see that there's a gap here? Okay. So where does it start again? At 1 on the y-axis. And where does it end? At 2. Does it include 1? Yes. Does it include 2? No. Okay, good. So now let's talk about our intervals of increase, decrease, and constant. What did I tell you to do with the stuff on the y-axis for increase, decrease, constant? What should I do with those numbers? Cross them off. Ignore them. They're not there. Don't get yourself confused by them. We read from left to right. So let's just put our pencil down for a second. If I put my pencil here and I draw, what's the graph doing? No, from left to right, guys, what's it doing? It's going up. Watch. Watch the blue line. What direction is it going? Up. Watch the blue line again on this part. What direction is it going? Up. So in both cases, both pieces of these graphs are doing what? Increasing. So what can you write for decrease? None. And what did I say? Domain and your intervals of increase, decrease, constant go together. So if this is the only thing that it's doing is increasing, think about it. This is increasing from where to where? Negative infinity to negative 2. Then it increases again from where to where? 1 to 2. Is that exact same thing as your domain? What's different? The parentheses and brackets, right? Because with domain and range, we use brackets and parentheses. If it includes, use a bracket. If it doesn't, use parentheses. Increase, decrease, constant, it's only parentheses. All right, let's look at the last one. This one's a little bit harder. So we got domain. Let's go to range. Increase, decrease, and constant. Do you guys have an area on this graph where from left to right it's going up? Yeah. Do you have an area from left to right it's going down? Yes. Do you have an area from left to right that it's just flat? So you have all three. Okay, no problem. Let's talk about our domain first. Remember, domain is on our x-axis. From negative infinity over here to positive infinity over here. Do you guys agree that this, as this continues to go this, it's going to continue to get wider? So what are your x values that are being used? From where? Negative infinity, good, Nick. To where? To negative 3. Does it include negative 3? No. Then I look here, there's a big gap, right? Where do the values start again? Includes, right? To where? Perfect. Does not include. Then look, there's a gap again. Where does it start again? 3. Does not include. To where? Perfect. Very good. So there's do you guys see 3 different pieces on that graph? You have 3 different pieces of domain. There's no problem with that. So now let's talk about our range. How do we read range? The y-axis from where to where? Bottom to top. Good. Bottom to top. So where, guys, do my values start on the y-axis? What number is that? 1, right? Starts right there at 1. Does it include 1? Yeah, because the line's on 1. And then where does it go to? I see a gap over here on this side. But if I look over here, is there a piece of the graph that exists on the right-hand side? Yeah. So there's no gap in your range. Your range is just from 1 to where? Infinity. Both of those arrows are going upwards. So when we talk about our intervals of increase, decrease, and constant, again, I want you to cross off your y-axis. There's 3 pieces. All 3 of them are doing something different. Yes, sir. The 2 where? The one that you used. Oh, this one? Okay, because do you see how there's a gap here? I agree with you there, but over here there's not. Anywhere where I'm coloring in blue, all of those values are being used. So if it's on one side of the graph, then it's included in your range. Okay. Good question. All right, so let's talk about this. Put your pencil. Watch what the color does. When I put my pencil down here, what is this graph doing? It's going down. It's decreasing. So from where on the x-axis to where on the x-axis is this decreasing? From negative infinity to negative 3. Is that not right there? All right, so then watch my pencil. What is my pencil doing from here to here? Staying flat, staying the same. So from where to where, guys, is it nice and flat? From negative 2 to positive 1. Is that right there? And then if you put your pencil down in this last section, what is that graph doing? It's going up. It's increasing. So where is it increasing from? From where on the x-axis to where on the x-axis? 3 to infinity. From 3 to infinity. Is that not right there? Yep. So what I want you guys to understand is if you're getting confused, if you're just like, oh gosh, this doesn't make sense. I get that, right? This is probably the first time you've seen this. You need to really take your time and understanding that when I talk about my domain, it's only my x-axis. I'm always looking from left to right. Your range is always looking from the bottom to the top. Very important to see that. And then your domain will always correspond with your interval of increase, decrease, and constant. This graph had 3 pieces and 3 different things. There was a piece of increase, a piece of decrease, a piece of constant. And that all came from your domain, not your y, not up and down. Yeah, we okay? All right, tomorrow we're going to do odd, even, neither, and finding the zeros. You guys will find that a lot easier. It's very algebra-based, so it's going to make a little more sense. But I would like you to pull up your WebAssign and just try. Try to give the domain and range of some things. Try to look at intervals of increase, decrease, constant. Remember, increase, decrease, constant, parentheses only, okay?